While I was on the 11th MEU in Africa, we were getting back on the ship and our XO was like, you're going to Syria to eradicate ISIS, to aid the Syrian Defense Force in eradicating ISIS.
U.S. Marines armed with heavy artillery guns have arrived in Syria. The deployment is part of a specific mission to take back the city of Raqqa from...
I'm sure you're familiar with OPSEC. You're not allowed to be posting things on like the internet or telling family, even like through a phone, even if it is censored. But somehow news caught wind almost like within the week that we made the decision to deploy to Syria. It didn't blow up by any means, but it ended up headlining in some sort of news fashion. What my primary company's goal was to actually transport Syrian Defense Force units to said objectives and areas and do resupply points as well. I was part of Red Section and my adjacent counterparts were Gold Section, and we were lead truck and I happened to be point truck. So I was the vehicle commander for that truck and we ended up getting the name Suicide Truck. I had a lot of encounters with IEDs and close encounters with IEDs and a lot of low-hanging wires that ended up blowing up on our trucks and whatnot. The first time I ever experienced IDF, it's nothing like you've ever heard or experienced. When a mortar system comes down from the sky, it's a whizzing sound that will never leave your entire being as long as you live and as long as you've heard it. And when we got our fob set up the first time we experienced IDF, one of our dog handlers who, the dog handlers sniff out the IEDs and whatnot, was in a fighting hole and it blew up right next to his fighting hole. And thank goodness he was in this fighting hole with his companion, because if he was anywhere over the top of that, he'd be done so. And like I tell you, like you train and you feel like you're ready, but the first time I experienced that, I couldn't like shake the nerves at first. I went through maybe a whole pack of cigarettes in that moment. Like I just couldn't like process it. Like it's not something like a human should process, if that makes any sense. You're just like, what was the purpose? And then you start searching for purpose, because when we were there, a lot of things that hit home hard for me is just seeing the people like just suffering out there. And one thing that hit me the most was, just seeing the families broken up and transporting like people to like the camps. Like they were just some of the nicest people in the world, like some of the most welcoming, and like the fact that they can smile and welcome us there. And then just seeing like families get back together. We had one situation where we were posted up in our fob one night, and one of my closest friends, who was actually under me at the time, he's scanning his left and right lateral limits, and he yells, "Hey, Corporal, there's somebody walking right towards our fob." And I just was like, what? It wasn't within our sector, but he caught it within his right lateral limit, and the vehicle adjacent to us, which was Red 2, was supposed to be catching that lateral limit, and unfortunately a Marine was sleeping behind the gun. We're just relaying over to headquarters, like, what do we do? What's the plan of action? Do we shoot? What is, our left and right limits with this situation? So what we did was we popped flares, and we ended up shooting a 50 cal at a woman, an innocent woman. We didn't shoot her, but we scared the living crap out of her to a point where like it was detrimental. And all she did when we came over, she was just begging for us to help find her kids because ISIS kidnapped them. And I'll never forget that moment. And that's where I found the meaning of, this is why we're here, because there are people that are walking amongst us that I don't even consider as people. They're just monsters walking this earth and doing horrific things to innocent people. I feel like it was a godsend, because during this time when this whole late period, I was going to school at OSU Cascades and getting my kinesiology degree, and I wanted to help veterans in some sort of fashion while helping myself. I swear like something out there was looking over my shoulder, and I stumbled upon Mission 22 and I looked everything up. I couldn't believe it. Mission 22 is a nonprofit that helps with like the ability to live in a holistic fashion with the components that we provide within the R&R program, through being able to work out at a community-based gym, being able to throw in supplementation and fix your diet, having a health coach, or in our case, a growth facilitator to help you manage your time within the R&R program, having a community-based area where you can talk to other veterans and bounce off one one another and help each other through your time within the program, where you can relate with one another. And of course, the spiritual factor, where you're able to meditate to understand why you have moral trauma, why you have PTS, why you have anxiety, depression, and how to move forward with all the components that we put in it. That's the mission of the Recovery and Resiliency program, is to help veterans not remove PTS, but to continue living with PTS in a holistic lifestyle.